It's hard to define in part because all three of those can overlap in the same company,
Yeah, that's true.
right? So how you attribute it and what it is. I'll take the easiest one first, which is stealth layoffs. The attribution there is pretty straightforward. If the firm has done a major round of layoffs, and then, within the same span of time, maybe a week or a month, they also say, by the way, we've changed our remote working policy and we're getting much more stringent. It's a soft layoff, right? And the people, like I've actually done this with big tech. If you take the big tech companies and you look at the ones that had the highest percentage of their employees laid off, they're also the ones that had the biggest shift in policy. So number one, with a bullet, Dell, right? Dell laid off 12% of its workforce in 2023, another sizable portion in 2024, and they progressively got more and more strict. The wild part about this is Michael Dell went to Congress and testified about the benefits of hybrid work before the pandemic. Okay. Kate Lister, shout out to Kate, who's done this work for years, also went to Congress to testify about the benefits of what the federal government calls telework. You can access cheaper talent. You can get them from more places. They're highly productive. You can manage them. Michael Dell did this. He's now changed his mind. He's not changed his mind, I don't think, because of his fundamental beliefs that hybrid work or flexible work doesn't work. So we can all sort of track that one. Real estate is often a factor. It's not always the biggest factor and necessarily the driver. But if you work in a financial services company that's building out $1 billion headquarters and that has major substantial stakes in the commercial real estate industry, you should not be surprised when your CEO says, I want people back in the office, right? So that one definitely is a factor. The other factor on that one is companies have tax incentives from cities and municipalities and obligations on that front that are worth money to them to drive it back. The first one that you mentioned, though, which is, I believe that we're better this way, is often literally that way. It's not necessarily that they know that there's a problem, it's they feel that there's a problem. And sometimes, we should get into this, sometimes those two things are actually related. But as often as not, especially in the chief human resource officers I've been hearing from in the past month or so, it's more in the realm of a CEO who feels like, I wasn't happy when we agreed to 3 days a week being the policy, but I did it. And now I'm only getting 2. And I'm unhappy because people aren't doing what I told them to do. And that's what's applying some of the pressure these days, not necessarily an actual performance problem, but a feeling like, I'm being cheated. The problem is the word that's missing in all that conversation is trust. It basically is, as a CEO, I don't trust that people are working hard enough when they're working from home. And so therefore, I want to push them to come back into the office. The problem with that, of course, is that you then tar everybody with the same brush. So maybe you get a few people who aren't working very hard to work harder, but the ones who are working their butts off also are getting that same thing applied to them. And what's going to happen on that end is they stop trusting you because they feel like you're monitoring them. And it's back to Spotify's CHRO's line about, if we hire adults, let's treat them as adults, not children.